Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Explainer. Today we are tackling a pretty massive topic, and honestly one that strikes fear into the hearts of even the most seasoned teams. We're talking about the product launch. Our goal today is to take that feeling of utter chaos and transform it into a structured, manageable, and highly repeatable process. Whether you're a founder, a product manager, a developer, or a marketer, consider this Explainer your ultimate launch playbook.
Okay, let's dive right into this. There is a fairly harsh truth in the tech world. Most products don't fail because of bad code. They fail because of a bad launch. Think about it. You can have the most elegant, completely bug-free codebase in existence, but if nobody knows your product actually exists, or if your support team isn't remotely ready for a sudden influx of users, well, all that immense time, energy, and money is literally wasted. A bad launch can absolutely tank an otherwise great product.
So to make sure that doesn't happen to you, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover why launches fail, break down the pre-launch, launch day, and post-launch phases, and then we'll wrap up with a quick look at the most common launch mistakes you absolutely need to avoid.
All right, let's kick things off with part one, why product launches fail and what we call the myth of the single moment.
Here is where we really need to shatter a massive beginner myth right out of the gate. So many people think a launch is just pressing a big red deploy button on a Tuesday morning and then just kicking back and watching the money roll in. But it's not a single moment at all. It's a continuous life cycle made up of these three critical phases you see mapped out right here. Failing to plan for all three of these phases is exactly why most launches stumble as soon as they start.
That brings us right into part two, pre-launch or setting the stage. This is where the real heavy lifting happens, often starting weeks or even months before the actual release date.
But before we even look at a checklist, we have to define what we're actually launching. Are we doing a full product launch or a feature launch? A new product launch is really aimed at capturing entirely new customers and finding that sweet spot of product market fit. You're basically casting a really wide net. A feature launch, on the other hand, is usually aimed at retaining the users you already have. For example, as the product plan data points out, when Spotify added podcasts, that was a massive feature launch designed to keep their current users in the app longer and make it a one-stop shop. The tactics you're going to use in your pre-launch shift entirely depending on which of these two you're actually executing.
All right, let's get into the actual pre-launch checklist. First up, you have to define your success metrics and align your team on those exact goals. Are we optimizing for free trials right now or actual revenue? Next, prepare your marketing and get your analytics set up. If you aren't tracking user behavior, you are totally flying blind. You also obviously need internal testing and QA sign-off. But here is an amazing tip straight from Atlassian's launch playbook: involve your stakeholders early. You absolutely have to prepare your sales and support teams with documentation and FAQs. If they are caught off guard on launch day, your customer experience is going to be a disaster.
Let's move to part three and see how this builds. Launch day, going live. This is where all that intense preparation finally meets execution.
On launch day itself, you generally have two main strategies to pick from: the soft launch and the hard launch. A soft launch is where you test the user experience in a really small, restricted market. It's safe, and it lets you catch frustrating UX hiccups before they affect your whole user base. A hard launch, though, is the exact opposite. This is where you make maximum noise across all your channels at the exact same time to generate massive buzz. Both are totally valid, but you really have to choose your approach intentionally. So here is your launch day checklist. First, commit to whether you're doing a staged rollout or a full-blown release. Second, as soon as you are live, someone specifically needs to be assigned to monitor those dashboards in real time to catch any sudden drops or unexpected errors. You also need to coordinate your announcements across email, social media, and PR. But listen, the absolute necessity here, the one thing you must have ready, is a rollback plan. If things unexpectedly go sideways, and trust me, sometimes they do, you need a pre-planned way to safely revert things without sending your entire engineering team into a sheer panic. Moving right along to part four, post-launch and the feedback loop. And I'm going to give you a massive warning right here. The absolute biggest mistake marketers and product teams make is patting themselves on the back, wiping their hands clean, and just going home after that launch day spike.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why that is such a huge mistake. This is real data from Intercom regarding the launch of their Educate product. Just look at that massive launch day traffic spike on the left. It looks like a phenomenal success from a reach perspective, right? But when you look at the actual customer conversions on the right, it barely moves the needle. A lot of that launch day traffic is honestly just window shoppers who don't end up actually buying anything. The spike drops off incredibly fast.
So the crucial point is this: if that huge wave of traffic doesn't translate into conversions, your launch hasn't actually been successful.
You cannot just stop at the spike. You have to investigate that post-launch user behavior to see if your messaging actually worked and if your product is really solving a problem for them.
So here is your post-launch checklist to close that loop properly. First, gather unfiltered responses. Listen to sales calls, read support tickets, monitor social media, and do it without reacting defensively. Then, as Intercom highly suggests, categorize that feedback into buckets. Like, is this a pricing confusion issue or is it a messaging issue? Once it's all categorized, track your metrics against your pre-launch baseline and start shipping continuous improvements. Seriously, the small tweaks you make after launch often drive way more adoption than the launch itself.
Finally, let's take a look at Part 5, Launch Mistakes to Avoid, just so you don't drop the ball right at the finish line.
Let's do a quick rapid-fire recap of those sneaky organizational pitfalls that can completely doom an otherwise brilliant product. Number 1, top-down planning and secrecy. If you isolate the product team and just hand down edicts to the rest of the company, people aren't going to feel ownership and vital things will absolutely slip through the cracks. Number 2, forgetting internal team training. Failing to empower your sales and support staff creates a super disjointed, frustrating customer experience. And number 3, chasing the next shiny launch instead of iterating on what you just released. Remember, the product journey begins at launch. It doesn't end there.
And that brings us to the end of our checklist. But before we wrap up, I've got a somewhat provocative question for you. What is the worst product launch experience you have ever had? Seriously, whether you were on the team launching it and everything caught fire, or you were just a frustrated customer trying to use a broken new product, I want to hear about it. Drop your launch nightmares in the comments below, and hey, please don't forget to subscribe if you found this explainer helpful. See you next time.